Rolling into a Tuesday. How are they going to get nuclear on the moon if they haven't been there? Asking the good questions, Deline. Yeah, it's funny. Has anybody seen that movie, Fly Me to the Moon? I think it's called Fly Me to the Moon. It's a recent movie with uh, Scarlett Johansson and what's the guy's name? I don't know. No sound. Hello, 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 hello. Can you all hear me now? Sorry, that was rude. Rude. Oh man, I was talking and stuff, talking about things. Yes. Okay. So Deline said How are they going to put nuclear on the moon if they haven't been there? To which I said, with no sound on my mic, good question. You can hear clearly now? The sound is on? Sounds like a song. I can hear all decibels in my phones. Oh, so yeah. Has anybody seen the movie Fly Me to the Moon? Which is like a recent film with like Scarlett Johansson. And in the movie, they alluded, the movie kind of pissed me off because the movie did kind of what the Trump administration is doing now around like the Epstein files and other things, is that they're giving you the idea that maybe the landing was faked and maybe they filmed it. So they set up in the movie, they set up a soundstage, and they were gonna fake the landing just in case they didn't make it. Right? This is the premise of the movie. The premise of the movie is that they were going to fake the landing or fake the footage just in case they didn't make it. And in the movie, somehow the fake filming got messed up. But man, it just so happens that they made it to the moon. I was like, oh, you guys. You think they landed on the moon but didn't show the footage? Well, there are several problems. Like I said, I have grave skepticism around whether we made it or not. Maybe we did. I really don't. It just doesn't look very likely to me. Like, I'll leave open the possibility that maybe we did go to the moon, but the more I see around it, the more things, the coincidences and the stuff around it that I see, the more I'm just like, nope, no way. Capricorn 1 was about that essentially, and it had OJ in it. I never saw that movie, Capricorn 1. I'm going to put it on my list. Maybe I'll watch it tonight. Never saw it. Well, there's a few questions I have, and one of the things a lot of people bring up is the Van Allen belts, but there have been. I was actually just listening to somebody talking about it, and in the statement around putting nuclear on the moon, they said something like, "It will help us achieve the goal of getting to the moon." They admitted that they hadn't been, and there was that video of that European astronaut a few years ago who said, who was talking about going to the moon and acting and talking as if we hadn't made it there yet, and everybody who watched that was like, you're saying we haven't made it yet? They're kind of admitting that they didn't go to the moon. So yes, a few of the technical things that just don't make any sense is, you're going to take a camera to the moon and it's going to work after, all the stuff you've been through, especially the radiation. And the other thing was transmitting footage from the moon back to the planet in 1969. How did they do that? Can somebody explain? And they transmitted footage from the moon to the planet to the Earth in 1969 without a delay. On top of that, the president apparently called them and said, "Good job." The president called them on the moon in 1969, picked up his rotary phone and said, "Here, you guys made it. That's great." I mean, come on, think through that. And then when you look at the actual technology of like the moon lander and who took the footage of them taking off to come back to Earth, there's things that are just huge plot holes, that, when you start asking the questions and trying to ask, what are the answers to these questions, the answers start sounding more ridiculous every day. So I'm very dubious that we made it. Oh, on top of the fact that they erased all the telemetry data. We lost it all. Who knows? NASA was like, oh, yeah. Where did I put that? Where did I put that telemetry data from the moon? Oh, man. Shoot. We left it on top of the microwave in the break room. Shoot. Okay, really? Did you? You just got to be super gullible, like a super gullible person to go like, sure, we did that. Like the way that they said that it happened, or like, oh, sure, we lost all the telemetry data. Like, sure, we just misplaced it. Oopsie. It just there's a lot of problems with it. So when I was watching this movie, I was just like, oh my God, give me a break. We forgot how to get back to the moon. Exactly, Delene. Exactly. Denver says, not just that, the footage was all broadcast to NASA, and all the news channels just filmed the screen NASA was showing them. Yeah. Yeah, so they alluded in the movie to shenanigans going on, but then they made it seem like, no, we really made it because we want to believe in Santa Claus, and we want you to believe in Santa Claus. Come on, guys, don't you believe in Santa Claus? And like the main character in the movie, the guy, the astronaut, was like they made him kind of seem like, they tried to make him a very likable, whatever, character, sympathetic character. And the whole thing just seemed like, let's just believe in Santa Claus, everyone. And we totally made it. No need for that fake footage. We made it just fine. Yeah. We can see John Glad. We can see the moon lander on the moon along with the footprints. Okay. Okay. Yeah, it just doesn't seem very likely to me. It really doesn't seem very likely to me. And then when you just think about the level of technology, like maybe we did have that level of technology. Maybe. I just really doubt it. I really doubt it. I just don't think. And on top of the fact that we never, supposedly we went back to the moon, but I just don't think that we, what's going on with the moon now? It's been years since we've been there, decades and decades since we've been there, supposedly. And we went there and we're just like, okay, been there, done that, the moon, whatever. Like, there's no ongoing, things about the moon. Nobody just talks about the moon anymore. Okay. You think they replaced it because the video was so terrible? Yeah. I don't know. I'm really skeptical. I mean, if somebody can present me with like serious evidence, on top of the fact that some of the astronauts even said things that were like, Did we get to the moon? You know, they're astronauts. The astronauts that supposedly went there said very, kind of backhanded skepticism about whether they went to the moon or not. I don't know, guys. I'd like to see more evidence that it actually happened. I just don't really. Okay, so let's talk about this story, which is a wild story. Just in. We're building nuclear power plants on the moon. That's how you know there's very serious people in the room. We're going to build nuclear power plants. A nuclear reactor on the moon. This is the U.S. Transportation Secretary Duffy. Apparently, China, in collaboration with Russia, is planning to build a nuclear reactor on the moon to power the International Lunar Research Station by 2035. Okay. The project, formalized through a memorandum of cooperation signed in May 2025, aims to provide a reliable energy source for a permanent lunar base at the moon's south pole. The reactor is intended to operate autonomously using robotic systems due to the challenges of human presence during construction. I don't really like Nick Fuentes, but he has a little good rant here. What? What did he say? Whoa. Hold on. Sorry about that, guys. That was whack. I don't know what he was. I think that was a dub. I thought he had some. I heard some other part of that was okay, but I don't know what the heck that was. Pardon me. Yeah, we're not. I don't know what the. Somewhat spoofy. That ain't something we getting into today. No. Hold on one second. Where I'm at. Let me get back to where I was at. Come on, man. What the heck? That's what? What is going on with X? Have you guys been noticing weird? I mean, I know this is a dumb question. Hold on. Moon. Apparently, I can't search X right now. What the heck is going on? Hold on. All right, let's see if we can do it another way. All right. Okay, let's read this from here. I know it. We've been. You're 55 today, Poppy Davis. Happy birthday. All right. Yahoo. Everybody wish Poppy a happy birthday. Shodan will propel the moon into Earth, destroying mankind. Well, all right. You've joined the Double Nickel Club. Congratulations. What you gonna do today, Poppy? What you gonna do? Are you gonna eat cake? The heck? Hail me. I can't seem to work StreamYard. Anyways, Transportation Secretary, interim NASA administrator. Why do these people all have like several jobs? Man, I think the Trump administration is not in good shape. Interim NASA administrator Sean Duffy outlined the space agency's fast-track plan to build a nuclear reactor on the moon on Tuesday. We're in a race. So he says, listen to this. We're in a race to the moon. To the moon. Why would you say that? You want Steak and Shake? Nice. We're in a race to the moon and a race with China to the moon. I thought we were in a race with Russia a long time ago. And to have a base on the moon, we need energy. And some of the key locations on the moon, we're going to get solar power, but this vision technology is critically important. And so we've spent hundreds of millions of dollars studying. Duffy said during a Department of Transportation press conference. Can we do it? Can he do it? Can we do it? We are now going to move beyond studying. Huh. This almost sounds like geoengineering, but reverse. You got your money on China? This is kind of a wild statement. We're now going to move beyond studying and we're going to be given direction to go. Let's start to deploy our technology to move to actually make this a reality. I mean, I might believe that they get there now in this day and age. Might. But 50 years ago? Duffy said the reactor will have to generate 100 kilowatts of output. That's the same amount of energy a 2,000 square foot home uses every 3.5 days. So we're not talking about massive technology. We're not launching this live. But this is interesting. In late July, NASA said that nearly 4,000 of its 18,000 employees would depart the agency through 2 rounds of deferred resignation programs. So make it make sense. NASA has invested money in nuclear reactor research, including awarding 3 $5 million contracts in 2022 to companies developing initial designs for a 40 kilowatt class fission power system. Acceleration of the plan is part of the administration's attention to human spaceflight. I make it make sense, yo. He says again, if we're going to engage in the race to the moon, listen to the language, guys. We're going to engage in a race to the moon and then to Mars. We have to get our act together. And we're going to do that by firing a quarter of our workforce. Does that work out for you guys? So we're in a race to the moon, but we're going to fire a quarter of NASA employees. Does that line up with a serious endeavor? I know $5 million. I know, Jolene. I thought that too. When I was like $5 million. Wow, that's a lot of not really a lot of money. When they have billions to just throw at AI systems or data centers or other technologies. $5 million. That's it. Yep. Yeah. I mean, $5 million just sounds like throwaway money to right? Like $5 million is just a couple days of money laundering for these guys. Anyways, yeah, the whole thing just sounds like a big fat mess. So you're gonna build nuclear reactors on the moon, but a lot of people doubt if you've even made it to the moon. So that the whole thing just doesn't sound good. They give that much to Israel every 10 seconds. That's true, Scott Andrews. Yeah. Oh, is that what's up with that Ice Cube movie? Oh, yeah, I've been avoiding that. Was it pretty bad? I keep seeing it, but I'm like, I just can't. I can't watch it. What do you guys think about this? I think this is a bunch of nonsense. Absolute nonsense. You heard that movie was bad? I just yeah. Apparently there's a new speaking of grift. It was good. It was hilarious. Okay. John Glad says anything moon is a black project money laundering scheme. Apparently Gavin Newsom created an NGO just to steal fire victims' money from Pacific Palisades. He named his wife as a leader of an NGO. He got caught, and then all the evidence was deleted. So this is very interesting. And there's been a lot of focus on Gavin Newsom and his money laundering ways, his missing money grift. And, I have to say, I didn't like go down the rabbit hole on this one to, verify all of these things, but it sounds about right. So we're going to listen to this presentation. It sounds about right. Here we go.
Oh, dirty Gavin Newsom, I caught you. So a couple days ago, I had posted about a congressman calling for the investigation of where the fire aid money had gone to. There was a fundraiser that was created, and over $100 million was raised towards direct relief to the fire victims in LA. This letter was sent to Pam Bondi to ask for the investigation of where the funds went. People like Spencer Pratt, this guy has been very loud about the fact that none of the fire victims, including him and his wife, have received any funds. And he came out with a video calling out the fact that it's been discovered that Gavin Newsom and a nonprofit that his wife is tied to took some of the relief funds. And this is where we reveal the shady Newsom. So being who I am, I just don't take anything at a surface level on social media. I decided to go to the Fire Aid website, where it does display that a total of 75 million has been given out of the 100 million. And I clicked on round 2. It starts off with this one where it talks about how $700,000 was given for critical information for fire victims. Then when you scroll down, you do see Cal volunteers, which is an organization that got a grant that took some of the money. I need you to pay attention to the one beneath it that says Center for Nonprofit Management. Remember that. This story started gaining more traction and more coverage started hitting this because you go to Cal Volunteer and you check out the commission. Guess who is the honorary chair? That's right, Jennifer Newsom. Guys, Gavin Newsom's wife. She is the honorary chairman of Cal Volunteer. Decided to go back to the Fire Aid website. And guess what is conveniently missing on the list of people that got grants on round 2? Remember how I told you Center for Nonprofit Management? Below that and above that was Cal Volunteer. But today on the website, if you go search round 1 and round 2, somehow Cal Volunteer disappeared from the list of people that got grants. Now what appears above Center for Nonprofit Management is California Local Conservation Corps. Yes, you can scout through that list. You're not going to find Cal Volunteer on there anymore. What are you hiding, New Scum? We already figured it out that your wife is leading one of the nonprofits that got the grant. So we already know you took the money from the fire victim. You refused to bring voter ID back to get federal funding to the fire victim. So when you're out there on the campaign trail talking about how much you care about Californians, you're lying. We caught you lying. You're stealing from the fire victim. You somehow conveniently got the name deleted off.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay, we'll take that at face value. But that's an interesting twist. But why not? I mean, basically, what happened with all this funding was that it went to all kinds of places, but not directly to. But that's kind of the modus. Speaking of switching out things on websites, hold on. So there was an announcement that the Trump administration was going to withhold federal disaster funds from any U.S. state or city that boycotts Israel. What? We've heard about this before, right? There was reporting of hurricane victims and flood victims in Texas who apparently were had to sign some kind of like, I will not boycott Israel. And there's been teachers organizations where you couldn't, they had to pledge their allegiance to Israel. Or else they couldn't be hired or couldn't get funding or whatever. Breaking, the Trump administration announces it will withhold federal disaster preparedness funds from any U.S. state or city that boycotts Israel. Okay. I don't know. No conflict of interest there. Trump administration, we will not provide disaster preparedness funds in places in U.S. boycotting Israel. Okay. Well, according to Reuters, new FEMA grant notices require U.S. states to certify they will not sever commercial relations specifically with Israeli companies in order to receive federal disaster preparedness funding. The requirement applies to at least $1.9 billion that states rely on to cover search and rescue equipment, emergency manager salaries, and backup power systems, among other expenses, according to 11 agency grant notices reviewed by Reuters. But look at this. According to Sauger and Jetty, apparently they scrubbed this from the website, because I think people had questioned this. So he says the Trump administration has removed the language requiring states not allow the boycotting of Israel or be eligible for disaster funds. That's interesting. Why would they do that? So here it is. It is here in a former iteration of this, and now it is gone. Did they? That's interesting. Did they get pushback? Did they? They don't seem to be walking back this kind of stuff, or in the habit of walking back this kind of stuff. But or are they just going to do it anyways and not notify people, or are they just going to leave it under cover? One wonders. And then he goes on to say, after speaking with folks here's what's going on. An original guidance from DHS explicitly stated that DHS federal disaster funding was barred from states that allowed boycott from Israel. The White House changed this explicit language after widespread outcry, but the DHS tweet makes it clear the administration reserves the right to deny these funds on BDS grounds based on the Anti-Boycott Act. They still might do it. They're just not saying it out loud. Interesting, though. What did I say? What did I say? What did I say? What did I say? What did I say about pushing back? About being the Vogus group. They walked this thing back a little bit. Or they made it look like they were walking it back because they were like, oh, very interesting. Get loud, yo. Get loud, people. Get loud. Because this is absolutely some bullshit. All of it. All of the anti-BDS stuff. Absolutely some bullshit. Absolutely illegal. Absolutely traitorous. All of it. No. I'm so glad that people spoke up about this. Continue to speak up. Continue to exercise your First Amendment right to say that you do not agree with what's going on. I do not agree with what's going on. Don't tell anybody, Salt Lake Earth. Okay, there has been an overwhelm, an avalanche, literally, of floods and extreme weather events going on in the last couple of days. I didn't have time to really cover it yesterday. This is a crazy video. Has anybody seen this crazy mudslide video from India? That literally came in and wiped out this town. Oh man, it is just horrific. I mean, it's taking a lot of people are running for their lives, and they're saying initial reports suggest 4 dead, but I feel like I saw way more than 4 people just in this video alone. That is a terrible disaster. But a whole lot of places are getting it. This is in Colombia, San Fernando, Colombia. And this is kind of wild footage too. This guy was being swept away from this flood. Somehow got himself out. I don't know how he got out of it. And he's probably banged up. He's probably hurting. Also in China, there again, one more time, China is getting ripped torrential rain. This is in Guangdong. Adrenaline, no pain. Yeah, when I saw him like bouncing around in that flood, I was like, oh god, that guy is like, yeah, he is going to be bruised up. Poor dude. That's pretty massive. Flooding going on in China. More footage from China. What do you think's going on, guys? What's going on? What could it possibly be? I guess they decided not to show anybody watching my show on X. I love X. X is, loves to hide my content. Is it smoky? Yeah, no. It's a little hazy, but it's not smoky. You're talking about the Santa Barbara fires or Santa Maria fires? This is more from India. This is from the last couple days, so I have a bunch of these videos. Parents waded through waist-deep floodwaters, holding their babies above their heads, a moment of love and resilience. In India, current situation, Ganga and Yamuna rivers above danger levels. Flooded 10,000 homes, 6,000 people evacuated. And real quick, did I play this the other day? I don't know. I asked people. Somebody did a video about trees dying, and I kind of put it out there like, what do you guys think is happening? This guy is like, well, this guy is on the side of they're spraying chemicals from the sky, and that's what's happening. I don't know.
This is my apricot tree that just died right now. I gotta show you this. So here's my other trees in my front yard. I got that one. That one. This one usually has red leaves everywhere. This is my plum tree. Okay. And it's like, you see, these trees are fine. This is my neighbor's property, and this was a apricot. And then I'm not sure which one this is. That's another one of my neighbor's trees. But then I saw this video right here.
I'm Steve Jarvis. I'm going to Washington, D.C. and to present my farm plan. And my farm plan will create 1 million new farms, 40-acre farms. But I want to talk to you today. I need 1 million people to say they don't want this stratospheric aerosol injection. I find it odd that what they're doing over there in UK to darken the sun, they call it Satan. And it stands for stratospheric aerosol, whatever. But I want to show you this tree. Last year, they sprayed, my bean crops turned yellow the same day, but it burnt. This is like a 150-year-old apple tree, but you can see how it just burnt the tips of it, the top of it. This thing is normally just loaded and loaded with blooms. There's some on the other side, but this is harming my crops. Nothing is organic anymore in the United States. I need to know, this is one of the questions we're going to ask when I get to DC, who has the power to turn this off? Look at this.
Yeah, just jumping to the whole geoengineering thing is, I feel like, not well informed. Sorry. Because there's a lot going on. Could they be geoengineering? Sure. And are they geoengineering? Sure. Heat, yes. What these folks are leaving out is heat and UV. Persistent drought, flat. There's also flash drought. So, I'm sorry to hear that, Poppy. Heat dome and no rain has done some damage to my smaller trees in a short period of time. Deline says radiation. Yeah. So the UV is high, less pollinating insects. Yep. There are multiple factors going on here, people. Like I'm willing to take in the idea that, maybe geoengineering or spraying or contrail making or cloud making like that, maybe it has something to do with it, but there are other things going on. Just, it's unfortunate that these like ideas appeal to just simplistic thinking, and people want to disregard things that are fairly obvious. And I was, Deline, to that question, well, I actually am, I lean towards, the explanation being more of it's a combination of heat and high UV. The heat thing is a thing. The sun being hotter than it's ever been before, when it's hits things, especially trees and leaves. And I've talked about this for years. I've shown pictures of trees in my neighborhood for years. And people have reported to me seeing the same thing in their area for years. I wonder, though, if like the testing of radiation in the air, not testing of radiation, nuclear weapons in the atmosphere. I talked about this yesterday. That could be leading to ozone depletion, higher UV levels, the ability, there's been studies. Denver, you sent me that one study that we actually covered years and years ago. We covered a study about and Guy McPherson talked about this, about UVC reaching the planet, UVC reaching ground levels, which absolutely should not be happening, right? So I don't know, guys. There are lots of theories about it, but in short, I think that, heat and UV and all of the environmental pressures, pesticides, lack of insects, all kinds of things. Environmental degradation is causing these trees to go down. And they're not just fruit trees. Sorry. They're kind of, they're trying to steer this conversation in this video to a particular demographic and a particular, thought silo about this. Lots of trees are going down. High night minimums, soil is crap. Yeah. Changing growing regions, right? Trees that used to thrive in certain areas are now not thriving, and they thrive in different areas now. That's absolutely happening. They don't attribute it. They won't attribute it to climate change, Chad, because they don't want humans to be responsible, and they don't want humans to collectively be responsible. And it's unfortunate. Because why not? Yes, the people in charge could be doing terrible things. Of course they can. And of course they probably are. And of course they've done terrible things in the name of science. I mean, who hasn't? We all understand that, right? But they don't want, humans collectively to be responsible for. And, the fact that the people in charge don't care about you isn't, the same as saying like, well, humans collectively could be, like, yes, they don't care about they don't care about us collectively. They don't care what happens to us. And yes, we're just lab animals to them. And yes, they don't care whether we live or die. And yes, they don't care about, taking advantage of us. And they don't, on and on and on. Right. Yes. All of that is true. But it does, that doesn't mean that we have zero responsibility in what's going on. It just, case in point, if we put, the process of getting lead out of gasoline took several decades. They didn't even know how, the process of putting lead, that's an old story. And, very quickly, the process of putting lead into gasoline was not necessary from the start, from the get-go, but it was easy, an easy fix for something. And it also, there was a lot of corporate subterfuge in keeping lead in the gasoline, right? So, hold on. I don't know what's going on. Yeah, there was a lot of shenanigans in keeping lead in the gasoline. There was also a lot of reports that we had scientific confirmation that lead was literally everywhere. Right. It was deep in the oceans. It was in the Arctic. It was literally covering the planet. It was seeping into everything. It was in the air. People were breathing in. These the fumes from burning leaded gas, right? And it was affecting people's behaviors. In fact, there's been studies that since we have taken lead out of gasoline, that violence in general has gone down in society. A lot of people tie the lead, because lead screws your brain up. So even though the elites were involved in this leaded, poisoning, right? The leaded gasoline poisoning. It was a collective problem, right? It was, same with PFAS, however you want to say it. Yes, the elites are poisoning us, but it is, it's a collective problem that we, you can be mad at the people in charge all day long, but if we don't collectively, organize ourselves to stop it, then we are also to blame. So I don't know what to tell you. we're poisoning the planet, and it's every single one of our fault. All of us are responsible for it. Either directly or indirectly. We are either contributing directly to helping to poison the planet, or we are contributing to it by allowing it to continue. And we do not escape responsibility. And that's what people want to do when they want to blame the people in charge are poisoning us. If only they'd stop, then everything would be great. Well, yeah. Well, why don't you just sit around and wonder why they won't stop? And it's just, it's some blame shifting nonsense is what it is. Anyways, the idea that you care about destruction of the planet or in the environment or climate change or doesn't mean you hate humans. The idea that you think that humans might, be might be a negative force on the planet doesn't mean you hate humans. You just wish they would do better. And I wish the people that talk about this stuff, especially in alternative journalist spheres, would do better. I really wish you guys would do better. Later, this guy's going to the racetrack. Yeah. Background radiation isn't what it was 15 years ago, says John Glad. Okay. I wonder why that is. Do you have any ideas? Yeah, Denver, that is true. Anyway, so, I just thought it was a good discussion kind of piece for people. I think in general we could be better to the planet. And I also think, if we have unleashed global warming, or if we have unleashed with our poisoning of the planet, things that cannot easily be repaired, like loss of ozone layers, permanent or not, right? Whether it's, continued depletion of the ozone layer, continued depletion of the soil, right? Soil quality, continued depletion of air quality, continued depletion of water quality. Like, we've set these things in motion that are not necessarily easily turned around, except for by turning off our activity. Or a lion's share of our activity. If we don't turn that off somehow, or clean that up somehow, then we're just going to continue to, have these kinds of impacts on the planet. And I think that geoengineering in general, even though that I think it is happening, I think it's lazy. I think it's a freaking lazy thing to think about. It's a freaking lazy thing to engage, a lazy conversation to engage in. Oh, these guys are just geoengineering and they're making it all happen. Okay. Okay. Creative Experiment says the air conditioner was invented to keep printing press machines from rusting, not cooling humans. Yeah. Yeah, there are larger forces at play. The idea that, we also just don't want to be responsible for the idea that, the thing that we rely on that to power human civilization is the thing that's also killing us or has already killed us. If you want to look at that in a certain way, has already destroyed us to the, taken us down to the point where there might not be any coming back. Nobody wants to grapple with that. That concept, that idea, because it's a little too scary. But, the basic idea or the basic premise, and that's not even a premise, the basic reality is that this entire civilization was built on burning fossil fuels. and that has consequences. And, you know, you can't keep this level of civilization going if you decrease the level of the burning of the fossil fuels. That's just simple math, right? So you are either going to, you know, if you want to decrease the level of the burning of the fossil fuels in order to not destroy the planet further, as some people have proposed, they'll call you anti-human, which is, you know, I don't know what to tell you. Or, you know, is lack of rain anti-human? It just happens. Is, you know, are natural disasters anti-human? No, they happen. They just happen. You know, it just, people want to escape the idea that they have there are consequences baked into your actions. And, you know, I feel like geoengineering, the reason why it's a lazy concept to talk about is because it just releases you and I from the responsibility of our collective actions as, you know, the human population on the planet. Sorry, you don't get to escape that. You just don't. I know you really want to, but you just don't. And, you know, like, it's nice to feel like you're right in the moment. We'll see. We'll see how it plays out. It's not looking very good, though. I mean, look what's happening. Like, you can blame geoengineering all you want on all these natural weather disasters, right? But like, you can blame, you know, cloud seeding and all kinds of, you know, you can do that all day long, but is it going to make them stop? Here's another point of responsibility for you. If you think that the powers that be are making all this happen, what's your, you know, what's your avenue for making that stop? Or do you have one? Or are you just going to sit around and hope that they do? And again, it becomes your responsibility, right? At the end of the day, if you think that's what's happening and you don't organize enough people together to go, hey, we want this to stop messing up our weather. Well, if you don't do that, then at the end of the day, again, you're responsible because you just sat around and let it happen. You just sat around and told people, well, there's no use in changing it. Government bad. That's all I got to tell you. And again, I'll make one more point. If the ultimate goal of the people that power this civilization with the burning of fossil fuels, if the ultimate goal is to have that continue to the bitter end without any opposition or without any people organizing against it or without any awareness about it or without people questioning it or without people resisting it, it's very beneficial to them to have a bunch of people going, climate change isn't a thing. Global warming isn't a thing. Burning fossil fuels isn't a thing. It's totally fine. It totally helps them out. And then that starts to look freaking suspicious to me because it's everyone in this one silo of thought that all repeat the same shit starts to look suspicious to me. But whatevs. Whatevs, guys. But for the most part, conspiracies are real, and the people in charge are up to no good. But even that requires your complicity and complacence in order to continue to go forward, right? Is you're going to sit around and ask people to stop that themselves? Oh, you guys better stop that. Hope it doesn't happen anymore. Anyways. Yeah. Things that are exhausting to think about. Sorry. Sorry about that. Okay, guys. Well, let's see. What else do we have here? If you like the show, if you like watching the show, if you like if you like the show coming to you for free 99 Monday through Friday, bringing you all the pertinent and relevant news that you like to hear. And if you like the community that we got here and all that, and you like this community being here for you, all that kind of stuff. If you like it, well, then I say support it. Lots of ways to support it in the description box of whatever channel that you're watching on. A whole bunch of ways: Venmo, PayPal, Cash App, Zelle, Buy Me a Coffee, Ko-Fi, etc. And many of you support the show on the regular. You know who you are, and I super duper appreciate you. Cornel West was in The Matrix as an elder councilman of Zion. Oh, yeah. Right. Well, and I think that's part of the Salt Lakers. Majority of people will still fight to protect the Matrix. Yeah. Right. They'll fight to protect at least some level of status quo with what we're doing. Kate says I was going to have a nice time visiting today, but no, had to make me responsible for the degradation of the planet. Now I got to go feel guilty. Yeah. I live in kind of a constant state of mild disgust, which isn't necessarily fun. But when I'm out in my travels and I'm doing the things and I'm living my day-to-day life, I'm living my life. And I'm just trying to, love people and manifest good things and all that kind of stuff. I sure do feel an element of disgust with human beings. Sorry, but it's true. And it's not like individual human beings. It's just like a societal level, like disgust with like how kind of vacuous we all can be. And so, yeah. And how damaging just our unconscious, forward motion can be very unconscious, can be very, a lot of levels, we just kind of do things out of habit. We all do. I do too. I try to change my habits, and I try to do a little bit better, and I try to, be a little less. But even I have grave shortcomings in all of that. I'm trying to keep the lights on like everybody else. And so a lot of times it's easy just to be like, well, how much am I going to change? How much is what I'm doing going to affect anything? Go with the flow, because it's, got to do our best and all that. But Yeah, the mild disgust just kind of never really leaves me. Mild. Zalipa says mild. Well, I try to keep it from boiling into rage, So I try to keep it at mild. I keep it on the mild setting, mild disgust, because if I allow it to go to like medium, then I'm already halfway to major. And when I get to major disgust, then I'm talking to myself, I'm ranting, I'm fuming, I'm cursing at the sky, people are looking at me walk down the street and they're like, "Are you okay, sir? Can I get you a cool drink?" Ask your doctor if denial is right for you. Yes. All right, guys. Hey, Fleur Ali, how you doing? Good to see you. Yeah, we're gonna wrap it up here, and I will see you all tomorrow at the regular time of 12 p.m. Pacific. Don't know if I have anybody to thank. I don't think so. All right, guys. Beware the bear.